Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga prediction show. We're tuning in once more for a lovely Thursday evening of Bundesliga content to get our teeth stuck into. Joining me tonight once more is Cam. How are you doing this eve?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all well. Well, I am at the moment, like I said, off there until United manage to play their way out of Europe. I might not be so great in a few hours' time, but alas, good for now. I'm ready to talk through some Bundesliga content. So yeah, we're looking ahead to Matchweek 26. Obviously, the last set of games before the first international break that we've had in a long while. It's been a long old stretch of us doing content on the Bundesliga show. So it'd be nice to have a break in a sense, but obviously looking forward to getting stuck into this. We'll be back with fantasy football tomorrow morning as well. Myself and Rory will be checking in. And of course, we'll review Matchweek 26 as well. So still a few bits of content for us to deliver for you lovely people. Just before we get started, please do make sure that you leave a like, comment along as well. If you're watching us live, subscribe to the channel and make sure you turn on those notifications. Big shout to our two partners, of course, as ever, with Bundesliga boxes and Bully News. Right, let's get stuck into it then. Cam, Friday night football. We've got obviously an important game which involves two teams that are near the bottom end of the Bundesliga table. It's St. Pauli hosting Hoffenheim. Two sides very much in need of points. Hoffenheim in a slightly better nick, but not too much better than Pauli, who have really seen a big drop-off this year and been very much drawn ever closer to the relegation battle and now very much in one. Not that they never weren't in it in the first place, but Cam, what do you see this one going?
I mean, they've been winless since January, haven't they, when they beat Union Berlin 3-0. And I just think that because we all thought, because they had a bit of a run just after the winter break, didn't they? And we all thought that they'd sort of drag themselves away from it. But the last few weeks, they've really ended up back in there. But with the quality of their side, I suppose it's, what to be expected. And is it 2 points ahead of Bochum now in the relegation playoff, and then 4 points behind Hoffenheim, who they play at the weekend. But Hoffenheim, yet again, just a poor team this season. Like we mentioned it quite a bit on Monday, just how underwhelming they've been. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in terms of protests and Andrej Kramarić's explicit interview a few months ago. But it's a far from ideal position to be in, really, when they're a side that wants to be fighting for Europe, I'd say most seasons, really. So it's a big game up north, to be honest. And I think my head is telling me it's going to be a draw because St. Pauli's defence is reliable, as we've seen with the low amount of goals they've conceded, and Hoffenheim don't exactly score lots either. So I'm going to go for a low-scoring 1-1 draw, to be honest. I just don't see either side having enough to take the win, I must admit.
Yeah, that's an absolutely fair prediction, I think. I think for Pauli, they have to take something. And if that's not a win, obviously it has to be a draw. I would like to predict a Pauli win, but right now, the spot that they're in, I just sadly can't see it. I'd very much like to be wrong. So I'd very much agree with that 1-1 and probably lock in the same score. Moving on to Saturday afternoon, we've got a resurgent Werder Bremen taking on Borussia Mönchengladbach. And another game where you would probably now struggle to predict the outcome. No doubt, one thing that we always say on this prediction show is a few months ago, this would have been really easy to predict, which it would have been because Werder were in a tough spot, probably only 2 weeks ago, really. And they lost, obviously, to Wolfsburg in a much improved performance where they probably should have got a draw at least.
Right at the end,
they the Wolfsburg standing keeper, what's his name, Muller, he had a worldie of a game in that one. And then obviously the Leverkusen game was excellent. So and they do struggle at home though, Werder. Gladbach, outplayed by Mainz last Friday, although it's still a very dangerous side. I might sit on the fence on this one as well, to be honest, and give us a couple more goals, but I'd say 2-2 myself. Cam, what do you reckon?
I actually went for a 2-0 win for Gladbach.
Oh, okay.
Purely, I mean, we seem to say this every week as well, that you just don't know which version of them is going to turn up. And obviously they had that strange run that they ended just before Christmas, didn't they, where they hadn't won consecutive games for over 2.5 years. But I think there are certain occasions this season when they've looked fantastic. And I just feel that this weekend is going to be one of those where they're not so much expected to go and beat Werder after Werder just beat Leverkusen at the weekend. But personally, I just think that, you know, the club like to turn up when they like to turn up. And I just feel that it will be this weekend, I guess. They've still got good players. And on their day, they can be a good side when everyone's fit and firing.
Yep, 100%. We will see if which version of Gladbach turn up on Saturday afternoon. Then, two sides who are doing A-OK in the league. A lot of attention has gone on Finn Darman for FC Augsburg. Quite rightly for the run of minutes that he has not let a goal into the onion bag, as Mark would say, who is absent, obviously, this evening due to unavailability. Yeah, against the Wolfsburg side, who, again, just hit and miss sometimes. They're starting to draw a couple of games, which, they ideally in another world for Wolfsburg fans wouldn't be doing. And you kind of feel like if they'd kept themselves on the straight and narrow, they'd probably be in the top 4 by now.
Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, away at Augsburg, Cam, what do you see this one going?
I mean, echoing similar thoughts to what I said on Monday, really, in the fact that this was the run of games with Augsburg when they played St. Pauli last weekend, and they've got a few more on paper easier fixtures coming up. It was those fixtures that you're thinking, if Wolfsburg win these, they're putting themselves in a position where they could potentially finish in the top 4. You know what I mean? Come May. Yeah. But it's yet again, it's that inconsistency. And I think it's the case for a lot of sides in that sort of European battle, to be honest, where you don't know what you're going to get. And I think Wolfsburg and Gladbach are the two biggest examples of that. On their day, Wolfsburg play fantastic stuff. But then against an Augsburg side that yet again on their day are a brilliant side. They've been on this remarkable run of form in recent weeks, beating Dortmund at the weekend. Their tails are up. I just think it's a clash of two sides with sort of very much similar inconsistencies, both at home and on the road. So I did go for a draw in this one, and I'm going to go for a 1-1.
1-1. There we are. Draw. We're draw kings at the moment. But again, I think that's
still no away win.
Yeah, still, yeah, true. I mean, how long will that record? No home win, I think. Yeah.
No home win. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with that really either. I can't separate the sides. It's a tricky one. Moving on to a game where I think we might get our first home win, or certainly I'm going to predict it to make it fairly obvious from the outset. Obviously a game on paper, which is a game between two sides that are very close in the table. And I think certainly myself and Mark on recent pods have given, credit to Freiburg, because I think a lot of people have said that their position is maybe false, and that they'll eventually get drawn back into maybe the lights of higher upper table, higher mid-table, which I think can, absolutely still happen. But I think it was right to give Freiburg credit for the fact that, they were beating teams that they should beat. But there are so many teams that don't do that. So we should always give credit for teams that are able to do that. But I don't think Mainz is a side that they should be, and therefore I don't think they will. Mainz right now are just on this unbelievable run, have pulled together this great squad and cohesion, obviously under the Dane, the main man, Bo Henriksen. So I see this being a home win. And then, talking of keepers who are in a good run, obviously Atabolu for Freiburg is also in great company because he has been on a fine run himself. I saw a stat from the Bundesliga website the other day that both keepers are not too far away from jumping into the top 5 or top 10 in terms of records of minutes gone without conceding a goal. So there's absolutely, things up for grabs for both of them. But I will say 3-1 home win on this one, Cam.
Yeah, I went for the exact same. It's a big test for Freiburg, I think. Going away to Mainz, we saw Bayern lose there. We saw Stuttgart lose there. It's a tough place to go this season against a side that have been fantastic all season. And Freiburg, as you said, they're in the place they are because they've won games against St. Pauli, against Bochum, when other sides have dropped points against them. And that is going to be a huge factor when it comes to the European race. And I know Freiburg have got some difficult fixtures coming up now, but it's only time will tell as to whether that run will keep them up there. But I think, to be honest, I just want to ask this question to you. Do you think the tides are starting to shift now in the fact that we should be placing higher expectations on Freiburg now, given the fact that they've sort of been an upper mid-table side and been battling for Europe for 3 or 4 years now?
It's a good question. Maybe a more fitting question for the powers that be at Freiburg or your average Freiburg fan. I know we on the show have had some great contact with Freiburg fan pages and podcasts previously. And, it'd be great to ask them this question, really, because I know, there was some dissatisfaction in terms of the way that they've maybe played this season, but also a realism as to where they've come from and what.
It's the balance, isn't it, I suppose? Because I know as a fan base, they're very happy to have a club in general, to be honest. And the way they operate as a club, I adore them for just their principles and how they are as a club in general. But I'm just wondering, is from from a neutral standpoint, when the expectations start to shift, really. And I feel that in the coming years, if they keep performing at this level, then questions will start to be asked as to.
Yeah, I think the short answer from me is it's a bit of a cop-out, but I think that because of the change in head coach, obviously the moving on of Christian Streich and Schuster coming in, I kind of feel like he gets a free shot at this season. It's obviously by far and away not a disaster. Like, obviously, if they're involved in any kind of relegation race or like in the depths of lower in the division, you'd think about how much of a future the coach has. But Freiburg are not going to be doing anything rash. They're not that sort of club. So I think he 100% gets a free shot, establishing a squad. And he's been doing all of this with basically without a striker who scores goals. Interesting question for sure. Then on to Union Berlin taking on the German powerhouse, obviously that is FC Bayern München, who completed the job with great ease, it must be said, in the Champions League, and have now got themselves into the quarterfinals, defeating Leverkusen 5-0 on aggregate. They'll be feeling great about themselves, Cam. So how do you see this one riding?
Yeah, their tails are up, aren't they? I know they lost last weekend, but Bayern are the one team that you never want to face after they've just lost a game, are they? And I can't see anything other than a convincing win. So I've gone for 3-0 for Bayern. They were somewhat let off the hook last time out when they lost against Bochum, with Leverkusen losing the same day. But then to go out and beat them comfortably again away from home in midweek just proves why they are really the champions-elect of the league. Mm-hmm. And even away at Union, I know it can be a tough place to go. And yet again, they're a side that's hit and miss. Bayern should and probably will have too much for them.
Yeah, even with, one would imagine, a slight amount of rotation, with the international break ahead, I guess there's no need to overly worry about fixture congestion, but then obviously Bayern will have a lot of representatives during the international break as well. So it'll be interesting to see what side Company ultimately puts out. But yeah, still see them being a clear winner. So I'd say maybe say 2-1, but yeah, definitely agree that they'll bounce back and do it well in Berlin. Then on to top spiel on obviously Saturday evening. We've got Leipzig and Dortmund. This is a very interesting game. Two sides from a league perspective that are completely off color. We have to give credit to Dortmund and give them their flowers, because we were talking off air about this briefly. The fact that they came through that Lille match, I am really impressed. Whether we do any bashing of the French league and say, "Are Lille that good?" Or whatever is another question. But when it comes to Bundesliga league form, Dortmund are then just another kettle of fish. They just have this clear lack of motivation, but they seriously need it, because one would imagine that Dortmund are going to struggle against Barcelona in the quarterfinals. And they need wins, they need points, but so do Leipzig. So I can see this being a nice game to watch for the neutrals, because you can see goals in it for both sides. And away form for Dortmund is even more shocking. You look at it every week. So I will slot in a Leipzig win, not based on the fact that Leipzig are doing well or that I trust Leipzig in any stretch, but I just feel it coming. So I will say we might as well have a thriller. I'll go 3-2 on Saturday night. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I personally went for a 3-2 Dortmund win.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I find this game really difficult to call, because Dortmund's form leading up to the Augsburg game wasn't that bad. And then Leipzig, like Dortmund, are just, you don't know what to expect of them. And most of the time it's been poor this season, don't get me wrong. But there are still days when both of these sides can show up. And I think it'll be an entertaining one. And I probably couldn't think of a better game to have on the 5:30 slot this weekend, apart from maybe Stuttgart Leverkusen. But it should be a good one. And I just think that Dortmund, it'll be one of the days that they half show up at least, whilst Leipzig, you never know. It's one of those games really where I just think it's a flip of a coin.
Yeah, I agree. I do feel like it's a flip of a coin. As I'm feeling nice, we'll lock in your score instead of mine. I'll be a gent and put the pressure on you.
On Monday, I can catch the blame, isn't it?
Perfect. Yeah, you're already understanding the show now, Cam. That's how we roll. Sunday afternoon. Then we've obviously got 3 games. The way that Europe split up. Bochum taking on Frankfurt. This stands to reason to be a tricky game for the away side, who are playing as we speak, and scored their 3rd goal actually to make it complete cruise control against Ajax. 3-0 now. Ekitike with the 3rd goal. So well done to the Eagles. They will progress to the quarterfinals of the Europa League and have an outstanding chance, really, of going a lot further. But in relation to this game, Cam, talk us through it.
It can't be sugar-coated. Frankfurt need results, don't they, in the league desperately, because teams are across that sort of race for European football. Teams are catching up, and they can't keep letting points slip. They let points slip last weekend in very poor fashion, to be honest, in the second half. And hopefully tonight will give them a bit of a boost. But then again, I feel like we said the same thing last week when they beat Ajax in the first leg. And I said on Monday, I think that they're a bit of a tournament side in the way that they're set up. So it's no surprise to see them doing well in Europe. And Bochum, they're in a relegation scrap. They're going to be wanting points desperately on home soil. It's a tricky test, really, for Frankfurt. And especially as well, I think the pressure factor is the fact that all of the teams in that race for Europe will have all played before Frankfurt, apart from Stuttgart.
Yeah.
That plays a factor, if Mainz managed to sort of extend that gap, or if Freiburg managed to do it, or Gladbach or whatever, the pressure's on Frankfurt then. So I just feel like it's a banana skin sort of game. So I don't think Bochum would win, but I've gone for 2-2.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's just not one of those nice fixtures where you come to it after, obviously, regardless of how comfortable Frankfurt are in their current tie with Ajax, they're still expending energy. Then obviously they have to obviously make the trip to the northwest and be up in will be a cauldron of an atmosphere, I'm sure, and it will be a physical contest, and Bochum will have a huge amount of confidence, really, not just a small amount, a real high amount. So I can absolutely go with a draw myself. I'll lock in a 1-1 draw. But yeah, absolutely can maybe see some more points dropped for Frankfurt. But you said 2-2, didn't you, Cam? 4:30 then English time. We have a real dogfight of a game. We have Heidenheim hosting Holstein Kiel. A game, Cam, that we said held great importance when we were talking about it on Monday's pod. It very much reflects the importance is the fact that they're 17th and 18th in the league, respectively. And yeah, it doesn't come any more 6-pointer like than Sunday afternoon. Very much struggling to get a read on this game. Heidenheim have showed glimpses in, occasionally in the last few weeks with a couple of okay draws. But, Kiel, I just feel, have this ability to score goals a lot more so than your Heidenheims and your Paulis, and even Bochum. Really, they carry much more of an attacking threat, and the fact that Heidenheim have very much struggled in that area. I don't trust the Holstein Kiel defense too much, but I feel if they go on the offensive, they could well benefit from it greatly, and maybe nick a really important away win. So I'm going to say that Kiel nick it 2-1. Heidenheim season has just been so ghastly from a league perspective, at least. And, the fans, of course, have enjoyed their European journey, but it's no doubt had an impact on the squad overall. But yeah, so I'll say 2-1 to Kiel. What do you reckon, Cam?
I went 1-0 to Kiel, but I agree with every point that you made there. I think the bubble sort of burst for Heidenheim, hasn't it? And to come from the heights of last season in your debut season in the Bundesliga and then to this, it never helps anyone. And obviously losing key players in the summer. So I just think that bubble sort of burst a bit. And Kiel, for me, stand a lot more of a fighting chance of staying up than Heidenheim. So I just think a big win this weekend, and that really sets them up now for a sort of tense finish to the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think very much a massive game for either. I kind of, whoever loses this game, if there is a loser, you kind of feel that they're done and dusted, maybe.
I would agree.
So
it's hard to, I think, the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still obviously ultimately a lot of games to go, but fixture either way around is a tricky ask, isn't it? So on to our Sunday evening fixture, 6:30 UK time. Don't often get loads of these, but obviously whilst European footy is ongoing, we'll have a fair few more of these as the season comes to a climax.
Very, very much disliked in Germany.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know people used to hate the Monday night kickoff as well, which we had for maybe one season or so.
It didn't even last a season, did it?
Oh yeah, it wasn't around for long.
The big Frankfurt protest wasn't there. I know that was.
Yeah. So yeah, Sunday evening. I'll sit down with my hot cup of cocoa or maybe something stronger to get through this one, Cam. So this is a really hard game to call. Stuttgart are in this very bizarre and funny place as a team, and in form right now from the form perspective.
Yeah,
Leverkusen. From a form perspective, they're not exactly dropping off a cliff, but their performances have just been very strange. Just as I've seen, it's 4-1 now to Frankfurt, so I've missed 2 goals there. Cam, walk and talk us through this one. This is, I feel like this is a really hard one to call as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm wearing a Gladbach shirt now, but I don't think, well, me and Rory haven't exactly hidden our affiliations with VfB Stuttgart on this show, to be honest. Stuttgart need points desperately. The last weekend against Kiel was poor, and that was a game that you have to win going into an extremely difficult one against the champions at the weekend. But with that being said, it's not an easy game to call with the fact that Florian Wirtz is out and Leverkusen's dismal 2 weeks. So I think it's a massive banana skin for both sides, to be honest. It could go either way.
Yep.
I personally went for a 3-2 victory for Leverkusen. You thought I was going to say Stuttgart then, didn't you?
I was half thinking it. Yeah. I was about to celebrate.
I just think that they need to bounce back as much as Stuttgart need the points. And I think that with Stuttgart's form in recent weeks, across the last sort of month and a half, since that great run after the winter break, things have really tailed off, and just I don't see it being turned around this weekend. And then there's a big game again next week against Frankfurt, one on next week after the break against Frankfurt. Then it's a big game, and I just think that Leverkusen will bounce back and keep the 8-point gap to Bayern, but not in comfortable fashion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with the points that you've made there, Cam. I guess the one maybe big deciding factor in this is honestly just the defenders that Stuttgart can get out on the pitch, which maybe turns the tide for me. If Stuttgart have a working, functional defensive group that are working well together, then you maybe kind of call it the other way. And a comment in from Captain Slugger saying, does losing to Bayern in the Champions League and losing their creator make this a stalemate? That's pretty much exactly what you said, Cam. It kind of evens the scales a lot more. Whether this was a confident Leverkusen side with Florian Wirtz, you'd very confidently say away win.
I think it's a flip of a coin, to be honest. It could go either way. Both sides in poor form, and like the comment says, just losing the creator in the recent Champions League defeat. It's a big ask to then go to Stuttgart. But then when we're not talking about a Stuttgart that's in the best of form either, we're talking about a Stuttgart side that hasn't won since beating Dortmund in February.
Leverkusen, Leverkusen have had their number as well. One of the few teams. But the other flip of the coin is as well that Stuttgart have given Leverkusen their best games in the last 2 seasons, really. And have given them a great run in a lot of the games. Kind of feel that might turn soon. And hey, it might be a DFB Pokal final for all we know. So
that'll be the game that Stuttgart finally beat them.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, we can leave this league game and take the Pokal instead.
I'll be back in Stuttgart for the final, so
lovely.
So it'd be nice to see it.
Yeah, that would be cool. But 3-2 for Leverkusen. We'll lock that one in from you, Cam. I'm finding it hard to disagree, but I'll say 2-2 for the sake of it. But that's us for the match week 26. If what we have said comes to pass, we'll have Leverkusen still clinging on to Munich. Still an 8-point gap there. Mainz looking very much in control of that top 4 race and places, with Frankfurt clinging on in 4th place ahead of Freiburg. And then from a relegation point of view, we'd see Kiel very much even things up in regards to where they are from that relegation playoff spot, and Pauli being dangerously close to being pulled right into it as well. So that is it for this evening. I hope you all enjoyed the show. It was great fun to go through match week 26 predictions with you all. Final few little bits. Again, we are back tomorrow morning for fantasy football. Myself and Runa will be tuning in at the usual time of 8:30 a.m. UK. So make sure you check us out then. Make sure to do some social posts in due course. Make sure that you, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Check us out on all different variations of social media, including Blue Sky, which we're all on. the Bundesliga show, myself, Bully News, and Cam is as well. So go check him out. Thanks all. We'll catch you tomorrow morning. Thanks, Cam. See you all later.
Cool.